What's up everyone, and welcome to my 5th episode in the Pokemon Revolution Online Guide. Now in this episode I'm not going to do any progression, I'm just going to catch a few Pokemon we need for Flash. You have to have 10 different species of Pokemon to obtain Flash from Professor Oak's aid. So I'm going to walk out and catch a few Pokemon here, but the majority of this video is going to be explaining EVs, IVs, natures, and abilities on the Pokemon, which adds the entire RPG aspect to this game, and which makes every single Pokemon unique, and some more expensive than others, and yada yada yada. So hopefully in this video I can explain to you in fully what EVs do, what IVs do, what your natures do, and what an ability can actually do for you. And I know I've said in the past few videos, oh, you know, look for a good nature or a good IV stats and stuff like that, and I know I haven't really elaborated on what those are, and the reason I haven't elaborated at all is because every Pokemon is different, and when I say that, every single Pokemon is different, whether or not it be a melee fighter or an SP attacker, a tank, or just basically, you know, anything else. So as you can see, I caught a few Magikarps and everything to try to get a good one, and I did find one that wasn't terrible, but it wasn't perfect either, and you can't really expect to find anything perfect. I need to get my Bronzor unslept, but I can give you a general idea of what you are looking for and to give you a basic prowess of what you need. So to start with, EVs are your blue stats here. As you can see, they all vary because you get a different EV for every monster you kill. Your IVs are your orange stats, and those can never change. They roll when they first get the Pokemon, and then of course the green stat is your plus stat and the orange stat is your minus stat, and that's affected by your nature. So your white stats are affected by the blue stats on the right, which are your EVs. EVs are gained, like for instance this Krabby gave me 1 attack EV and 1 attack point, or vice versa. I think it was 1 EV and then another attack point another time. Either way, each Pokemon gives you a stat in either attack, defense, speed, SP attack, SP defense. So you see, like, this Bellsprout doesn't have a nature. That's the worst thing you can get because one of your IVs isn't expending itself by 10%. So you're gonna want one with a nature that actually affects something and defects something, but you don't want it to affect something. You want it to affect something good, but you don't want it to negatively affect something bad. Say like defense. You really don't want to have a negative on like SP defense like my Bronzor, because he'll get tossed around by casted moves. So your EVs, i.e. the blue numbers, can be gained from fighting different monsters. Krabby will give you an attack, you know, a Tentacool will give you an SP defense. Every single monster or every Pokemon has a different EV that it'll give you. So EVs can be trained, quote unquote. You can focus on EVs, you can get really high SP defense, or you can get a really high attack by just killing a certain kind of Pokemon with your Pokemon. So that being said, you can farm up your own IVs, and if you have a nature that increases a good IV, or EV, I'm sorry, you have a nature that increases a good EV, and you level that EV a bunch, you're going to have a really, really crazy Pokemon early on, because you focused on the EVs. Now, the IVs are the orange stats you can't control. Every time you catch a Pokemon, those are all randomized 0 to 31. And that's your attack, defense, speed, you know, everything of that, and it's the orange number in the middle. You can't control those. Those never change. They come with the animal. Now you want them to be above 15 if it's a stat that he uses. Like, let's say for Magikarp, he would use attack, defense, and SP defense. He wouldn't really use SP attack too much. At least I don't. I use melee attack and Gyarados because they're pretty OP. But if he wasn't using SP attack, your orange stat and SP wouldn't have to be very high. SP defense, on the other hand, you're still going to want pretty high. Now, I'm not saying IVs make or break the Pokemon, because they don't. Natures plus IVs make or break the Pokemon. So if you have a good nature, a really good nature, and some bad IVs, it's not going to be the end of the world. But if you have a really bad nature and not great IVs, you've pretty much got a very bad Pokemon on your hands, which is a lot of what people get handed in the beginning for starter Pokemon, and why people have a lot of problems like they do. So Pokemon hunting is definitely essential, meaning you need to catch a lot of the same Pokemon to find the unique one you actually want to use. You're not going to use a fighting Pokemon who has high SP attack, and he's going to be using like casted moves such as Psybeam and stuff like that. He's not going to, it doesn't add up. So you really gotta, it's every Pokemon is specific and different. It's really hard to say what IVs and nature you want for every Pokemon because it's not set like that. But what I can tell you is the basic information behind natures. There's a nature that decreases and decreases each stat, and some of them just null out, so they have nothing. So like this Psyduck, for instance, will be plus speed minus SP defense. I wouldn't like that at all. He would be faster, and he does have some good IVs, but he's minus SP defense, which means psychic attacks, attacks that are like non-physical are going to hurt him a lot more than they should. You really don't want to get a negative defense. That's where you're going to get hurt really bad, depending on the Pokemon. Now, let's say for Gengar or Bronzor, a high melee defense or a low melee defense wouldn't be the worst because he doesn't get hit by many ground attacks if he has the Levitate ability. Therefore, you wouldn't have to worry too much about his melee defense because he'd be avoiding an entire category of abilities. So a lot of the abilities play into that. And every ability on all the Pokemon, all Pokemon have 3 different abilities, so it's hard to gauge, of course, which ability you want for each one. There's nothing the same. So, generally, a good Pokemon, a very good Pokemon would be above 20 in most of its IVs, at least the important ones. Your nature, let's say a perfect Magikarp would be a plus melee attack minus SP attack. That would be your best nature possible for a melee attacking Magikarp. Then of course you'd want a high IV in your Magikarp and in the melee stat. See, as you can see, I caught a Magikarp with plus defense minus SP defense, which I did not like that. I don't like it at all. He has good IVs, but I don't like it. And then we got a plus defense minus melee attack. I don't like it. And then we've got the reverse of that. And then we've got one that doesn't have a nature at all. So the one I settled with wasn't, was the best one I got. So I hope you guys liked this video, and I hope you learned a little bit, because I'll be making more videos on this. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you like this video, go ahead and slap that like button, and if you'd like to see more content from me, please subscribe. Have a good day.